Good morning. I'm back, and it's been a while. It actually hasn't been that long, but yeah, need to get better at doing this. But I woke up at 6:30 today, and I convinced myself to get out of bed and do it. So yeah, Matthew 24. Jesus foretells the destruction of the temple. Jesus left the temple and was going away. When his disciples came out to him, when the disciples came to point him out to the buildings of the temple. But he answered them, "You see all these? Do you not? Truly I say to you, there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down." Signs of the end of the age. As he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" And Jesus answered them, "See, no one leads you astray, for many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Christ,' and they will lead many astray. And you will hear wars and rumors of wars, and you will see that you are not alarmed, for this must take place. But the end is not yet, for a nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are but the beginnings of the birth pains. When they will deliver you up to tribulation and put you to death. You will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another. And many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. And this is the gospel of the kingdom, will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as testimony to all nations, and the end will come. See, I don't know if that doesn't sound like soon. But you can understand why I have worries. But at the same time, there's not much we can do except pray and work for a better world, to put love and kindness out in there and to be better, because yeah, this world is messed up, but we're the only ones who can make it just a little bit less messed up in the waiting period. The abomination of desolation. So when you see the abomination of desolation spoken by the prophet Daniel, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand, and then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let the one who is at the house stop, not go down to take what is in his house, and let the ones who are in the field not turn back to take his cloak. And alas for the women who are pregnant and those who are nursing an infant in those days. Pray that your flight may not be in winter or on the Sabbath, for then there will be great tribulation, as such has not been from the beginning of the world until now, no, and never will be. And if those days had not been cut short, no human being would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short. Then if anyone says to you, "Look, here is Christ," or "There he is," do not believe it, for false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders, as to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you before. So if they say to you, "Look, he is in the wilderness," do not go there and say. If they say, "Look, he is in the inner rooms," do not believe it, for the lightning comes from the east and shines as far as the west. So will be the coming of man, the Son of Man. Wherever the corpse is, the vultures will gather. I guess that's just more stuff. yeah, basically, I suppose it will say like when Jesus comes, you won't be able to deny it. Like it won't be in one place; it'll be the whole world revealing Himself at once. And it's specifically talking about the coming of Jesus. Who is a physical man, not the Holy Spirit. And then maybe it is also talking about the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit didn't exist at the point in time, and it's like, oh, he's in this, and he's in this, and it's like people say that, and it's like, oh, but he, like in some ways, yes, he is. Yes, the Holy Spirit is those places, but he's also everywhere else. Like you don't need to go to those places to be with the Holy Spirit. There are definitely people that claim to be Christ, and it's like, oh, mildly concerning. I suppose the main thing about this is Christianity being hated across the world, but at the same time, Christianity is fairly hated across the world, and some people might, if people are going, oh, well, it's going to prosecute Western society. I'm not saying we're prosecuting the Western society, I'm saying we're hated, which is completely different. Like, and obviously, there's some coming thing, and people are realizing that not all Christianity is homophobic and racist, and whatever, and bigoted, but the fact of the matter is, there are a lot of Christian groups who are very loud and outspoken who have those kind of views, making Christianity very hated because of the morals of Christianity. It's really weird. Western society is built on the morals of this textbook, which means they believe in things like fairness and equality for all humans, and they hate Christians because Christians do not agree with those terms, despite the fact that that's where the terms came from. I don't understand it either. Like, I honestly don't understand it. Let's continue. The coming of the Son of Man. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give us its light, and the stars will fall from heaven, and the power of heavens will be shaken. And then will appear in heaven the sign of the Son of Man, and then all the tribes of earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and glory, great glory, and he will send out his angels with a loud trumpet to call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. I have no idea what to make of that. I don't know whether that's literal or not, but the lesson of the fig tree. The lesson from the fig tree, learn its lesson. As soon as its branches become tender and put out its leaves, you know summer is near. Also, when you see all these things, you know that he is near. At the very gates. Truly I say to you, this generation will not pass away until these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. Okay. Now that one is a bit weird, because it's like, definitely, this is the other thing, definitely all those things happened in their time. Jesus didn't. He went for a while. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's not even something that's like, ooh, this is a mark of like, this isn't necessarily said in each time. And it's like, I don't know. No one knows what day and hour. But concerning the day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but the Father only. For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage, until the day when Noah entered the ark, and they were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away. So will the coming of the Son of Man. Then two men will be left in the field, one will be taken, one left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken, one left. Therefore stay awake, for you do not know what day your Lord is coming. But know this, if the master of the house is known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore you must also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. When it is, who then is the faithful and wise servant whom his master set on over his household, to give them their food in the proper time? Blessed is that servant, for whom his master will find so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will set him out over all his possessions. But if the wicked servant says to himself, my master is delayed, and begins to beat his fellow servants and eats and drinks with drunkards, the master of that servant will come on the day he does not expect him, at an hour he does not know, and will cut him to pieces and put him with the hypocrites. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Okay, so basically this entire thing was about prophecy for the future, which is a lot. A lotty dot lot. Yeah, the end of the world. The last part, I suppose, basically just said, yeah, continue being Christians to the end of Christianity. To the end of the world. Well, not to the end of Christianity. Christianity will last longer. But, like, to the end of the world. Just continue doing your best. Because we will not know the time of day. And it's kind of, like, weird, because it's, like, the people, when this was first said, are expecting it to happen soon. And part of me wonders if there are other people over the world who are like, oh, this is going to happen soon. So obviously there are some people who are like, it's going to happen soon. Basically based on what's happening now. And I'm like, also like, yeah, it's going to happen soon. But it's also, yeah, it's kind of based on what's happening now, because like what's happening now is really shit. But also at the same time, it's also happening due to different dreams I've had. So I don't know. And I don't know who they're from, I don't know what they're about, but as far as I can tell, they're true dreams. And if they're not, well, I beseech the Lord to take them away from me. But they're there and they exist. I don't know. Go listen to New Life Brisbane's most recent ministry. If you're already a Christian. If you're not already a Christian, like, you don't need to go listen to it, but it was a really good one. It dived into a lot of 1 Peter verses 3. You know, the whole one where the wives will submit to their husbands. Slave master will submit to a slave will submit to their master. And it was like, he went really detailed into the context behind what was being said in those statements. Why those statements were in fact revolutionary at the time, and also why those statements did not support slavery as a thing, or abuse and stuff as a thing, because there was just a lot of stuff. It was like, this is what the power dynamic at the time is. This is what, if you go against this power dynamic, you are accused of being a traitor, because of how necessary this power dynamic is to uphold the reign of the emperor at the time. And it's like, if you're not upholding that dynamic in the household, you will be accused. You are a traitor. You are traitor to the empire, and you will be killed. And it's like, okay, we went from 0 to 60 like really quickly, because in our day and age it'd be like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Why would you do that thing? And it's like, yes, we do that now in our day and age in our society, based off women, our Western society, based off the literature of the Bible, think that's utterly ridiculous. But guess what? Back then, it's like, well, you have no idea, if the people actually, they definitely didn't agree with everything they were writing. Like, they obviously had some some intention to actually show a greater thing, but also at the same time, it's like, even if some of these things, it's kind of like, people think the Bible approves slavery because it references slavery as existing. And I think you need to understand slavery existed. and it was a fact of life, and it had been for a really long time, and was going to continue to be for a really long time. And most of the people it was talking to were people who did not contain a lot of power in majority of day, because guess what? Christianity was very appealing to those slaves and to women, both of whom did not have power in the social structure of that day. But Christianity as a goal of what we wanted would give them power, and would say they deserving of power, and that if there was a chance they could get free, they should. So it's like, basically, looking at these texts, you can't just say, oh, they don't apply today because they're saying this and that isn't right. Therefore, maybe we should just ignore it. But also on the flip side, you can't say that this thing written 100 years ago is immediately applicable to this day and age. Instead, we should look at the context in which it was written and actually look at what it's telling us. And honestly, the main takeaway was witnessed by remix. He basically called it something remix, and it's like, oh yes, this makes sense. It's like, this was basically he looked at the philosophy of what everything was going on in the day. Like, this is what the household and like what the legal structure of the day is, and this is why it existed. And now we're gonna remix it, and instead we're gonna make it point back to Jesus Christ, because we're gonna do it differently. For the first thing, we're going to address the slave and the women because they actually have agency in this situation. Unlike the other places where it says they do not have agency, and the slave doesn't even have possibility of thought of agency, which is mildly concerning, Whereas they're like, yeah, we fully believe you have agency in your actions, and we are going to give you agency of this, and then we believe that if you can do these things, maybe you can witness to the masters of your household, and they can change their mind, and they can become Christian, and then they'll stop doing shit and abusing you because they will be Christian and they will be good. And basically, and then it does the whole thing, and then it summarizes by saying, instead of talking about these people as if they've been these people's property, they go, care and love for them because they are vulnerable. It does say the weaker thing, but some people have translated it to vulnerable. And it's like, and one, also at the time, they did just straight up consider women weaker sex, but also at the same, on the flip side, it's like, oh, the vulnerable. And it's like, oh, no, it's and another translation would be literally like, oh, if you have power, care for the vulnerable, lest the Lord stop listening to your prayers. If you have power over someone who is vulnerable, look after them, or the Lord will stop listening to your prayers. That is basically what you can directly translate that is. That is the meaning and the understanding behind it. That is the philosophy on which those statements were built. It is a good way of saying it. It's like, it's not, that's what, in other ways, that's not what it literally said, but that's the statement behind what is built. It's like, but basically, let's look at the political structure today. You're probably not going to be able to change it. That's a lot of work, and messy, bloodthirsty revolutions never work. But guess what will work? Working within the system and fucking confusing everyone. But basically going, I'm going to do the right thing and follow every single law, and I'm going to be such an amazing citizen. I'm going to do all the good public works, and I'm going to do as much as I can. I'm going to do as best I can in this broken system. But if you ever tell me something that goes against my religion, I will fucking leave you in an instant, because I do not give a shit about your laws, and I never have, and I follow Jesus Christ only. And like, that's such a weird thing. It's like, I will be a better citizen than those people who actually believe in society. Bet. And it's like, basically like, let's see if you can be better citizens than those who actually believe Caesar is Lord or God or whatever. Bet. And basically all Christians, I feel like, went, bet. And then immediately did that, and if they were ever told stop worshiping God, they were like, no, fuck you. And then they're like, but you do, it's like, okay, it's for the law. It's like, fuck you. It's like, but you care about the law. It's like, no, I never cared about the law. I cared about being a good citizen, and it's like, I cared about other things. And it's like, yeah, sure, I was following your laws and being the best citizen ever, but really, honestly, I never fucking give a shit. And like, I think that's a better way of putting it. It's like, follow the laws. But the moment those laws contradict the moral philosophy of Jesus Christ, stop following the laws, because they're stupid. So like, the best saying is like, you're in a country where you're legally required to report gender queerness or just queerness in general to the parents, and you're a teacher, don't do it. I don't care if you're going to get fired. Please don't do it, because it's fucking wrong. Don't out people. Just straight up don't out people. Like, that's not good. One, I don't know how anyone's going to find out, because one, if they ever say, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know this, and like, actually act fucking offended. It's like, how would I know what this looks like? I don't do that research. I don't know what that is. Because one, that will probably work. It's like, one, that'd be funny, and it's like, oh, on the flip side, you could go straight. I'm like, fuck you, I was never doing that in the first place. I can't believe you saying, oh, you're going to fire me. I don't give a shit. And it's like, you see that? And it's like, also, the parents that are most likely to find out about this, guess what? They're the ones who are most likely to be supportive. So we're actually, you're probably very in the clear, because they probably also hate the law. So, like, basically, that's what I'm saying. Like, if a law like that comes along, just straight up don't obey it. And the more people just straight up don't obey it, but are like brilliant teachers and amazing doctors or whatever, and it's like, you're doing a really good job at teaching, and like the best teacher, and you're teaching all the stuff to the correct max, and it's like you're giving all the right lectures, and all your classes are doing brilliantly, and it comes along that you're not reporting this, people won't know what to do, because they'll be like, but, and like school, and it's like, but like, if the police found out, then obviously the police might do stuff. It's like with the legal system. But if like your supervisor found out, they might just go, let's ignore that fact as well, because even if they're not Christian or anything, but they might go, I don't want to lose one of our best teachers just because they're not playing this. I might make a few notes that like you need to follow the law sometimes, and you can, I'm not going to report you, but seriously follow the law. And if they say something like that, I would totally just go, no, it's an evil law. The law should be changed. I protest its change constantly, but I can't get it changed, so I'm going to disobey it, because it's not a good law. So yeah, that's basically the summary of how, like, basically what they were referring to in that whole thing, and that's a summary of the sermon. It was done way better and way more in depth, but yeah, that's a summary of the sermon, and that's how it was applied to it, meaning that's how those passages should actually be applied in today's context. Woo! Bye!